Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you are doing well. And today we have our Chosen of Valhalla live stream, our once-a-month stream, where we pay special tribute to those extra members, those people that not only spend time on the channel, not only are here every single day, but also give just a little bit extra as well to help to support the channel even more so. So welcome everyone to the channel. Welcome everyone to the chat. We've got someone brand new to the Chosen of Valhalla category this month, and so we'll go ahead and start off with her. Teresa Martin. Teresa Martin, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. I'm so happy to be on my very first visit to Odin's Valhalla. Is that where we are?
We're in Valhalla.
Are we in the afterlife?
Yes, okay. Indeed.
Nice.
So thank you so much for being here. And what you've been up to? Anything fun?
Anything fun? Well, I try. I've been up to a lot of work.
Okay.
But the most fun I had this week was the premiere of the Clone Wars.
Yes.
And the whole family, we got together, and the kids, they're now teenagers. And it was so exciting to once again have Clone Wars time.
Oh, and we'll talk a little bit more about Clone Wars, because obviously that is definitely something that is brand new. And I know that I have a lot of thoughts, because I haven't done an official review for the channel yet, but it's something that I definitely want to talk about, because there's a lot of really good things overall to talk about. But Teresa, thank you so much for joining us this weekend and for being a Chosen of Valhalla.
Thank you.
And also joining us once again, another month now, my boy, my dude over on the D Live. And I'm very sorry for any of my D-Live people that are going to be like, wait, where's the live stream? And then they have to come over to YouTube and they say, ugh, I have to deal with YouTube today. But as you all know, my ADD will not allow me to handle 5 different screens at once, which these tend to be, because trying to talk with you guys, I'm trying to talk with the chat, it goes crazy. So, Mr. Roy, King of the D-Live, Captain Mr. Roy, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome. Any fun things going on in your life right now?
Not much. I've seen a few movies and TV shows, and just this work sucks. I mean,
the same old, right? Work is just never as fun as it, ever was supposed to be. So we're just left here trying to figure things out. What have you been watching recently?
Finished up The Witcher.
Okay.
It's okay-ish. It was really hard getting through those first 2 episodes, but after that, I really want to like this show, but I think the way they structure the show and the non-linear storytelling, it's kind of confusing to watch sometimes, especially if you don't watch it, you don't binge watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you watch an episode and 2 days later you watch an episode and they're doing a flashback, it kind of gets confusing to watch.
I totally understand where you're coming from, because everyone around you, for the most part, is like, this show is amazing. This show is fantastic. It's the heir apparent to Game of Thrones. And then you watch it and you're like, there's so many things that I love and I want to love even more. But then, as you said, there's this non-linear storytelling, because I remember watching it. I did binge watch it, and I was even confused binge watching it, because I was like, wait, didn't this just happen? How is this character still alive? What's going on here? And it's not ever clear sometimes, and it's back and forth. But I think by the end of it, you're able to get used to it enough to where it's okay.
It's kind of funny when you read behind the scenes. The writer of the show took inspiration from Dunkirk when she's telling a story from 3 different characters' perspectives at 3 different times. And did you do non-linear storytelling on top of that? It gets really confusing to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of reminds me, I don't know, did any of y'all watch the show Legion?
Nuh-uh.
No, I didn't have the pleasure.
Okay, so Legion was a show featured on FX. It's based off of a Marvel comic. It's the son of, what is it, Charles Xavier, I think? And he obviously has a lot of powers, but he also has mental illness, at least in the show. And so it also has a lot of non-linear storytelling aspects to it as well. I think that one might handle it a little bit better, because to me, by the end of it, it all made a bit more sense. I don't think the ending to that show was as good, and obviously The Witcher has just started, so we'll have to wait and see what they're able to do in season 2. But yeah, okay, awesome. Yeah, we'll dive further into what we've been watching and thoughts about that. Obviously, Clone Wars, Witcher, still on a lot of people's minds. But let me go ahead and just jump into the chat real quick just to say hi. So Rosetta Allen, she is running late, so she should be jumping in any second. In Disguise, meep, cough, cough, what's going on in Disguise? G-Monkey76 is here. JKD Buck, Keck44, Dory the Hobbit is here. Alex McCarthy, who's one of my members, says, howdy, Odin. How's it going? How are you doing, Sir Alex McCarthy? Teresa Martin was waving in the chat. Yivo is here as well. Alex McCarthy's having some fun with, I have a couple of new pictures. For some reason, the GIFs still aren't working the way they should be, so I've replaced a couple of GIFs with actual images. There's one of me doing Blue Steel. There's also one of my dog, River, in the snow. So hopefully they come up a little bit better on there. Let us see who else we got. Kevin the Speedster's in the chat. Soul Assassin Jeremy Swiggs says, pickles. That is all. Okay. Whatever that means, Jeremy Swiggs. Dora the Hobbit says, your thoughts on Donald Trump making a parasite joke? I thought in reference to the Robert Storm's recent controversy, it was hysterical. If it was by itself, I don't think I would have cared much about it because Trump says things all the time about a wide variety of issues. But the fact that everyone had just gone crazy on YouTube because Robert Storms had that very hot take about it, it just made it that much better. Not to mention, Robert Storms is not a Trump supporter. And so when he was tagged in that video and Robert Storms was freaking out saying, oh gosh, I can't believe that I'm in this company, was fantastic. It was hilarious to see that. Stephanie B is here. What's going on, Stephanie B? Stephanie B says, I messed up the time. I thought 12 Central and 11 for you. No, it's 12 p.m. Eastern, and then we had to delay it because I had to get a video up. I was dealing with family having to leave and all that stuff, but we started about as close to on time as we could. And also, shout out to Tina, who will not be in the chat today, sadly. So Tina will not be in the video hangout today because she is on a cruise. So I know that she would much rather be on the cruise than here because no matter how much she loves us, I mean, come on. Having all the food, the drinks, the fresh air. I mean, she's going to have a blast. So praying for her safety, praying that she has fun and her relaxation on the cruise that she is currently on right now. In fact, I think she told us she would be walking onto the ship just about right now. So praying for her and for her safety. All right, we're caught up in the chat. So let's go ahead and start off firstly with Teresa Martin. So Teresa Martin, we always start off with talking about what we've been watching, and we go into a deeper dive that we had just done. So what have you been watching recently?
Well, as I said, the new Clone Wars, that was the main thing that I've been watching. I watch a lot of chick flick kind of things on Amazon Prime. I don't know if that's quite where you go with these shows. Things like Poldark, nice chick flick about Cornwall back in the 19th century.
Ooh, what's it called? Wait, what's it called again?
Poldark.
Poldark, okay.
Yeah, it's the 6th season. It just finished up. About a man who had fought in the American Revolution on the British side, and he comes home. They all thought he was dead, and his fiance is now engaged to his best friend, and it's a big, huge soap opera set in the 19th century. Total chick flick and totally fun.
Hey, chick flicks are totally welcome to be talked about here. Basically, on these segments, whatever it is that you want to talk about, you can talk about. So, Poldark, okay, it sounds interesting. Sometimes people in the chat will say, "Oh, I've seen this," or "Oh, I've heard of this," and they'll add to that discussion. So, when did that show first start coming out, or is it already done? Is it still new episodes, or?
It just had its series finale. It started about 6 years ago. It was actually a newer version of it. It originally was popularized back in the 70s, but they only did half the story back then. And so they this time filmed the whole book series. There was a series of books from the 1940s.
Okay.
So it was, and it has the actor who played Philly in The Hobbit, looking very fine and very Byronian. We love our tortured men in 19th century clothes. And yes, it just had its series finale. I usually don't tend to watch shows until they're done because I've gotten burned so many times where I'm so into it and then it gets canceled. So
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because the other one of two things happens: one, it gets canceled, or two, it ends like Game of Thrones season 8, and then it's just I don't know which was worse, for it to be canceled or for them to cancel themselves essentially by destroying it.
Well, yeah, wasn't it just about this time last year that we thought we were going to have the most epic ending to Game of Thrones?
Yep.
And slowly we went through the stages of grief, denial.
I think it is about the same time of year. I think you're right about that.
That was the biggest troll that any two men have done on humanity.
Yeah.
7 seasons of almost perfection, and then the 8th season just, watch us suck.
Oh, you thought that we couldn't subvert your expectations. Just you wait. All right, so Poldark, you've been watching, and then you mentioned Clone Wars. What are your thoughts about the new episode of Clone Wars?
I loved it. I was just so excited to see it back. It was a spoilers? Is that okay? Spoilers?
Yeah, sure. It's only 20-minute episodes. They're not very long, and yeah. So if anyone that wants to see the new episode of Clone Wars, we are going into some spoiler territory. So yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, it was really fun because it was a clone episode, and they were called the Bad Batch. They were the clones that were not perfect, but they were still able to fight, so they all had these weird little quirks and things, and they were very unrefined, and they had to join up with Cody and Rex, and they called those the Reg clones. It was like the odd couple of clones, but they had to go and then fight on a mission to try to find Echo, who they think might still be alive. So that's all I'll say about it. So it was loads of fun. And we were just so excited. I was watching it with my in-law, my brother-in-law, and my niece and nephew, and they were so into it because they were about 5, 6 when the original Clone Wars came out.
Okay.
So seeing them and seeing them going, Cody, Rex, and it really was fun seeing them again.
Okay, so everyone there had seen all the previous episodes of Clone Wars previously.
Yes, all the family. It's amazing how we all have different experiences with Star Wars. My thing was the original trilogy because that's what I saw first. I saw the original in the theaters, and then the original trilogy, prequel trilogy. But the kids that were born about right after the prequel trilogy, Clone Wars was huge. And I remember this, all the kids with their little backpacks and their lunch boxes. It was huge. So for them, that was their thing that they couldn't wait for Saturday. It'd be Saturday morning because they couldn't watch it at night. So it was so much fun. And that's what I like. Anytime Star Wars can be fun again, I think that we're so almost in a Stockholm syndrome where we're like, oh my gosh, they've given us a little bit of joy. And it really does. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought that up because my first experience with Clone Wars was I just saw it as, oh, that's just a random cartoon with really weird looking animation. Why would I ever want to watch it? And it wasn't until on this channel, Laura, Ryan stole my fan fiction story. Again, someone that has been a big supporter of the channel for a long time. She was the one pushing, you have to watch Clone Wars. And then eventually after that, you have to watch Rebels. And so it was because of her and her push that eventually I did. And then I realized, oh, Clone Wars is not just a kids show, right? Remember, I've made that distinction on the channel a lot, that there's kids stuff and then there's family stuff. And Clone Wars absolutely falls into that family category where you can enjoy it whether you're an adult, a kid, teenager, whatever it is, whatever stage in life you're in, you can enjoy it. And so, yeah, I mean, we'll talk more about Clone Wars in a second, but we do have another Chosen of Valhalla that has just joined the stream. So let me go ahead and introduce her. Rosetta Allen. Rosetta, how are you doing?
Busy.
So, Rosetta, you are preparing for a long journey, I imagine?
Yeah.
And where are you going?
Well, it starts here in the middle of the freaking country. I'm going to be driving down to Pensacon to meet up with a bunch of fandom here. And then from there, I have to go over to Cali to do a bunch of events along the coast for a little bit.
Wait a minute. So you're driving from Florida to California?
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
And then through the center of the country, including doing the Comic-Con that's in Kansas City on the way back.
Wow. And this is going to be a month-long journey?
Right near a month. It's going to be right at 4 weeks.
Wow. Okay. So I know you're obviously tired, probably daunting, thinking about all the packing and all the stuff that you got to get ready, but are you excited for it?
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I'm excited to meet a lot of the people who've been so there for me and such friends to me for everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Plus, I got to get even with Milestone.
With Milestone?
She freaking submarined me onto her stream while I was on Muscle Relaxers.
Oh, no.
I literally was telling her I don't want to do this, and then she announces behind Jeff while she's on High Council that I agreed to it.
Which forces your hand, and then you show up, and then it's Rosetta on Muscle Relaxers.
So I already told her I'm getting even when I get there.
I don't know. Can one even get even with Jessie Milestone? Something tells me that she's like immune to that type of thing.
If there's anybody who can torment that girl, it's me with the way we talk to each other.
Well, that's awesome.
Don't get me wrong. I love the girl to death, but me and her, when we get together, it gets kind of saucy.
Saucy, yeah, that'd be a word.
I guess that's a way I could describe it on your channel.
Yeah, saucy, salty. You know, a sauce with a little bit of salt in it. You know, a little combination of the two. Maybe a little roux. You know, a nice little roux, getting ready for some gumbo, perhaps. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Just throwing out food recommendations here, but
I've never been to the South. I'm going to be going from Florida to Cali along the South.
Boom, there you go. So you'll be experiencing a plethora of things from the South for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us once again. Rosetta has been in here. She is the longest tenured chosen of Valhalla, so it's always great to have you back once again. And you'll be holding the fort down with Tina being out because she's also one of the longer tenured persons. But we got a new person. We got Teresa Martin, and we were just talking about Clone Wars. And so I just wanted to give my own thoughts. I also, Teresa, like you, loved it. And I think the thing I liked about it the most is that it feels like nothing has changed. It feels like nothing from what was left off. It's the seamless transition. And I know that a lot of these episodes, or at least the first 5 or 6 or so, were already written. And I think a lot of them were actually even recorded years ago. And this never actually saw the light of day. And so I'm wondering if there's going to come a point in this season where there's going to be a clear transitional point of this is now new content and how they're going to handle that. And I can't wait to see what they do with it. But your thoughts about the seamless transition, Teresa, do you think that kind of added to the enjoyment of it coming back?
Absolutely. When it started off and that music happened with the little drum thing going on, and then we were like, what are they going to say? What's going to be the saying? And then we saw a little lesson that they gave, and then the announcer goes in. It was like it was yesterday. You're right.
It's like nothing got skipped, right? Because it's been, Disney took over around, 2012 or so, and that's when they canceled the series. So we're looking at 8 years or so since the last Clone Wars episode. And for 8 years to pass by and for them to do an episode that even just the effects, the voices, everything is almost exactly the same, that's a pretty hard thing to pull off. And, obviously, as I said, a lot of it likely could have been recorded prior to, but I'm with you. As soon as I heard the voiceover, like, meanwhile, back in I was just like, yes, this is Clone Wars. This is exactly what we all wanted.
Oh, man, you do a perfect imitation of it. I couldn't pull that off. Yes.
It's just that typical, announcer's voice. It's great. It's fun. I love it.
Yeah. And it also shows that the spirit of Star Wars is still alive. It's still there. We might have
small flame. Yeah. It's that small flame that hopefully we can just, get into a brush fire that at the same time burns out the Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson, and all that crew. So it gets replaced with people like, apparently Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, who seem to care a lot more about fandom than anyone else. But, I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But anything else that you've been watching that you want to talk about?
Anything besides that? Well, as I said, Polder. Also, I've been digging a little bit into some more of those older things that I used to watch back in college, like the 1995 Pride and Prejudice, Mr. Darcy with Colin Firth. Never grows old. Oh gosh, why do I always talk about the guy? I wonder why. But yeah, also the man in the suit, Emma. I'm really excited about the new adaptation of Emma that's about ready to come out.
Okay.
I love the one from 1995 with Gwyneth Paltrow and I forget the name of Jeremy Northam. I still just to this day call him by his name in that show. Again, another man in a suit. So I'm delving back into the Regency era.
Okay. I'm just going to say right now that when Tina listens back to this episode, she's probably going to be bobbing her head saying, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, this is exactly what I'd be watching. And so if we are all on the next stream, I can only imagine the conversations that you two will have because y'all seem to have a lot of those similar passions, especially about older cinema and just that classic stuff because they don't make it anymore. You know, they just don't make it like that anymore.
Nope.
No, they do not. All right. Well, thank you for sharing what you've been watching. Mr. Roy, what you been watching?
Let's see. I watched The Irishman.
Oh, what were your thoughts?
I really liked it.
Okay.
It kind of starts off slow, but once Al Pacino comes in, it really picks up. I really enjoyed it. I'm not someone that really enjoys mob movies too much, but I mean, I really recommend it. I mean, yeah, it's kind of long.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's long, and I agree. I like it too. Do you think it's funny though that Al Pacino, instead of doing an impersonation of a character, it's just like Al Pacino?
Yeah, it's
just what he does.
And,
there are some actors. I think it depends on the spirit the actor has. There's some you like seeing them play themselves because they come off really well when they do it, and there's some that they play themselves really well, and then they end up playing Forrest Gump and doing well.
Yeah, that's true.
Not that I'm making a crack at anybody.
No. No, absolutely. I think you're right, though. Like some actors, they can play the everyman, every woman character very well and don't really branch much further out from that. But then there's others that can do a little bit of both in that way. But yeah, that's the reason why, Mr. Roy, I actually really thoroughly enjoy The Irishman, too, because it gives you great performances, and I'm sure Alex McCarthy, who I know is in the chat, he always talks about Joe Pesci. It's one of the best Joe Pesci performances of his career. Well, what do you think?
Yeah, yes, that is probably one of the best I've seen of him in a long time.
Ooh, wait, now I have to watch it. I didn't realize Joe Pesci was in it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's basically Scorsese bringing the boys back together. I mean, it's De Niro and Pesci back together again, and they're bringing all these other just iconic characters, iconic actors into this discussion too. Harvey Keitel has a minor role in it too. And,
dude.
Oh yeah, the casting is great. Now, Mr. Roy said it's definitely on the long side, and so. Mr. Roy, would you say that one should break it up into segments or try and watch it all in one sitting?
I thought about that at first, but once I got into it, I finished it. Once I got Al Pacino showed up, I basically just watched the rest of the movie in one sitting.
And I can see why. Once you have someone walk into the room just going, hoo-ah, just like his typical Al Pacino-ness, you're like, okay, I can get in on this now. But yeah, I love that film. Anything else you've been watching?
On the opposite end of the spectrum, for some strange reason, I watched Doom Annihilation. It's
interesting.
It's a really terrible movie.
I never even knew. So you said Doom Annihilation, like from the video game?
Yeah, it came out in 2019. It is a atrociously bad video game movie.
Oh
Probably
my goodness,
of the worst I've ever seen.
Wow, because I remember seeing the original Doom adaptation with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And that was bad, but there were parts of it that even of that terrible film that I actually kind of liked. But
there's nothing in this
nothing?
Movie. Nothing. It's awful.
Don't you love when there's movies where you're like, maybe, just maybe there'll be something, and then nope.
This felt like Rise of Skywalker awful. It was bad.
Oh, no. So I'm assuming visual effects were pretty bad. And
yeah, if you name it, it's bad.
So what made you want to watch it then?
The Netflix subscription was running out, and I was like, I'd watch this before I had to cut it off.
I just like how your Netflix is running out, and out of all the movies, you're like, I gotta watch this one before it goes.
I don't know. It caught my eye.
No one says it makes sense.
Yeah. I will say this much though. I think it seems to me, is it one of those movies where it's bad, but it's funny that it's bad?
I was hoping so, but it's not.
Oh.
It's like I watched that Philosophaster and I was just cracking up throughout that whole movie. This
Okay.
movie was Doom was painful to watch.
Oh no. You would have at least hoped it's like, oh, at least if it's bad, I can laugh at it
Yeah,
every now and
that
then.
was the only reason why I went and watched Rise of Skywalker. I read the spoilers and I was
Yeah.
like, this may be funny to watch. Because I'll be honest, I laughed at The Last Jedi. I thought it was hilariously bad.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure. Oh man, so The Irishman, and then you jump all the way over to Doom Annihilation.
Yeah.
That is quite a palette that you have there, sir. Anything else that you watched, though?
I think the last couple movies I watched, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Okay.
which I probably would pick that as the best movie of the year. I've
Mm.
really, really liked it. It's really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's an argument to be made for that, for sure.
And then I watched Parasite, which is I really like the movie, but I don't know if I'm gonna watch it again.
Okay.
It's
Were you one that won one of the copies that I sent?
yes,
Okay, awesome.
yeah. Thank you for that.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think the first half of the movie I was kind of bored watching it, and then that twist comes, and that's the part of the movie I enjoy watching.
Mhm.
But the first half, I just kind of
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. For me, I found it funny, the first part. Like, I thought that the dynamics between them all was entertaining, and then as soon as it becomes from a comedy drama to this is a thriller, you're like, oh man, things just got real. And yeah, I agree with you where you just that's what grips you into the movie. But overall,
Yeah,
you would say that with both sections together, enjoyable film for you?
yeah, it's an enjoyable film. I think my major issue is just none of those characters are likable in any way.
Okay. I don't know. I actually kind of liked the poor characters. I don't know why. It was just something about them. There was like this almost this obnoxious charm to them. But then I also liked the rich too, like the wife, who was very clueless in a lot of the things that she did. And that's why I actually liked the movie, because I felt that it made both sides look equally bad, but also good, right?
Yeah,
Like,
if I was to point to a character that I like the most, it'll probably be the wife character.
mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
The way-
absolutely.
That scene where she's talking on the cell phone, picking wine bottles and stuff, while the other guy's falling behind her is pretty funny to watch.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of visual gags, and there's just so many things that are done with space. Like there's that scene with the table where all the stuff's going on, and you're just like, that part had me rolling on the floor. Like when they're underneath the table, and then it's the husband and wife watching their kid out in the sun, or rather out in the rain, trying to build a tent, and you're just like, what in the heck is going on? But yeah, I like that one a lot too. So you saw Parasite and anything else?
The Sonic movie.
Okay, yeah. What were your thoughts?
It's bad but fun to watch.
Okay, yeah. I think that's a fair review for it. And what were the things that you enjoyed to watch about it?
It's basically just a kids movie with like product placement.
Oh, the product placement. Yep.
I was gonna say with Sonic, as much as I loved and adored it growing up with it, I never saw how you could make it a serious movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way it's going to be a good movie. It could be entertaining, same way like the cheerleader movies and that stuff are. Not because it's got a good plot and well done, but because it's just crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me with Sonic, because I didn't play all the Sonic games, but I played, Sonic on Game Boy. I played Sonic on the Sega Genesis, Sonic 2. My favorite part about Sonic 2 was the game, and I don't know, or no, it was Sonic and Knuckles. And Sonic and Knuckles had this thing where you could flip open the top, and you could add in the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 game, and it would allow you to play as Knuckles in that game. And I was like, that's just a cool concept. You're combining games together, and then you get extra features from that.
Yeah, I remember that. My favorite Sonic game was never one of the common ones for most people.
Mm-hmm.
I like Spinball.
I've never heard of that one.
It was actually it combined doing the levels like Sonic, but it was actually a pinball game where you actually climbed in the machine and had to go up multiple different machines to go to the top to fight Robotnik.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah. I feel like because the one thing that was somewhat similar was in Sonic and Knuckles, I think is the version. There's those bonus rounds and those bonus games you can play, and it's the casino where like basically you have to like.
Yeah, that was based on it. That was during the same release time, so they threw some of it in. In the Spinball one, you had like you entered a main room and you had to go up the two sides, and you had like multiple tiers on both sides, where you had to unlock all these different things and change alignments and stuff, so you could enter the boss room. So it actually would take like 40-minute plus just to play one freaking level because you had to keep going through each section, unlocking different things.
Okay.
And if you lost a life, you reset and all the work you did was gone.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can see how that could be game breaking.
It was a fun challenge.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's one of the few games I've beaten many times in my life.
Okay. Very nice, very nice. And Mr. Roy, anything else that you want to add?
That's about it. That's all I've watched the past month or so.
Yeah, and as you know, for me, I was not a huge fan of Sonic because as I can see how people would find the product placement funny. It was just too much for me. And I think the reason why is because I knew that it was going to be in there because one reviewer in their spoiler-free review mentioned that there are a few elements of product placement. And since I was waiting for them to happen, and when they did, I was like, really? It's a little too much for me. But that's just my own thought on it. But
yeah, I mean, the product place. If you're going to do product placement, I think this type of product placement is actually better than like what you see in the Transformers movies. When you need to do it, you want to do it way over the top, not just Mark Wahlberg drinking Bud Light on screen.
And you see that for me, I like the subtle approach. I like they happen to be driving a Mercedes, or they happen to be drinking a Coca-Cola can, because that to me makes it more natural. It's like that's something that someone likely would be doing versus the whole Olive Garden thing, which again, it's
so bad, it's hilarious.
The end
but
joke,
a lot of Disney movies have that too, where they just stick random references to every freaking thing they own in it.
Yeah.
And you look at it going, what the frick does that even have to do with anything?
it's not even product placement. It's just self-referential product placement.
Yeah, it's like this horrible self-aggrandizing advertisement.
Yeah.
So
well Rosetta, what have you been watching?
YouTube, mostly. Because I've been mostly working on my project, so I can't exactly pay a lot of attention up.
Okay, gotcha. Is that a new Groot poster behind you, or has that always been there?
That's always been there.
Okay.
It's just my chair broke and I had to change it out, so the one I'm on now is higher up.
Oh, okay, that might be why.
So you can see a little more than just this far up.
I think before all you saw was the foot, and so I never knew what it was, but now that I see it's the Groot, I am Groot.
I don't know if you've seen the drawings I've been working on.
I don't think I have. Do you have them in front of you?
Well, I don't have them on person here, but I could pull a couple of them open for you.
Okay. All right.
Because, that's what I've been doing is I've been working on drawings for different people. And the one that's most wound about me doing that is Krista.
Okay. I love Krista. She's such a sweetheart.
She's such a doll.
Yeah, she really is. Mr. Roy, did you, because I didn't mention it, have you seen Clone Wars? Did you ever get into Clone Wars prior to?
I'm kind of confused about Clone Wars. There's a 2003 or 4 version I've seen, but the new stuff I hadn't seen.
Okay. Yeah, I would always recommend the series itself because, there's that confusing because there was one, I think, movie that was made from parts of the episodes that was really bad because it was just very confusing. Then apparently there's also another movie or series that was made by a different person. That's something that I've actually never seen. Some argue that it's better than what Filoni did.
There's an 2007 movie that's bad.
Yeah,
but there's a series of cartoons that came out on Cartoon Network, and then they edited them all together. I believe you could watch it on YouTube.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved those. They were very short, but they were very good.
Okay.
They were lots of fun. It kind of tided us over between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith.
Okay, so were those under the same animation style, or were they different?
It was different.
Okay, yeah, that's the one. That's the one that I've been told about constantly, that some people argue is better than the actual Clone Wars series, and that's where some of the confusion is, because it was a different creative mind behind that. It was not something done, I believe, under the Dave Filoni regime with Clone Wars instead. So I have to find that, because I hear about it all the time, and yet I've never had a chance to actually see it.
Yeah, it's loads of fun. I own it on DVD. It was huge when it came out because we were so excited. It had some really bad things in it that were really worth it. Even some good Anakin Padme stuff. I like Anakin and Padme a lot more in the cartoons than I did in the actual movies.
Well, I
found the file.
I think the actors have a lot to do with that.
Yeah. Well, and I always think that the actress played Natalie Portman just wasn't into it.
No.
She was just phoning it in, going, "Okay, fine. You're breaking my heart.
Oh my God, Annie, you're breaking my heart. You're going down a path that I cannot follow."
And we know she can act because she's done a lot of other good stuff. So
yeah, she has, and that's where I get into. I think it was the director, not her. And I think a lot of people, even hardcore Star Wars fans, admit, as much as we love George Lucas, he is great at building a story. Let him give the story. Let someone else write the script, and then let someone else direct. And if you have a good director and a good screenplay writer with his actual story, I think then you get gold, is what I think.
Yeah, sure. That was the biggest mistake that happened, was having him do everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Rosetta, you got the files to pull up?
Yeah, I'm trying to get to screen share, but it's being stubborn on me because it's stupid.
Okay.
Now it's erroring, so I'm going to reload real quick here.
Okay. We'll pull that up when we do. As for now, I'll go to the chat. Spidey Flash says, "Hey, long time no see. What's going on, Spidey Flash? It has been a long time." Cupcake Geek says, "Yay, hello, Odin. Hello to you." Cupcake Geek then said it again, twice. All right. You seem to be very, very excited to be here today. Let's see. Chat jumped on me like it normally does, but also I've not been keeping up with it. Dora the Hobbit says, "Could the 2020 Tokyo Olympics be canceled because of the coronavirus?" I was talking with my family earlier about that, and I think that's actually an interesting topic to get into, because, this coronavirus, I am of the mindset of, I think it's slightly alarmist for some people. I think some people are overblowing what it is. It's still serious, right? People are dying, and we should take that seriously because of that fact. But I do think that this is something that happens. I feel like it happens every 3 or 4 years, where there's some new strand of flu or there's some new strand of something, and then everyone in the world flips out about it. But what do you think, Mr. Roy, starting off with you? Do you think that the 2020 Tokyo Olympics will be canceled or delayed or impacted by the coronavirus?
I don't know. Probably not. I'll guess. I mean, I don't know much about the coronavirus, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
All know about it is that it's been delaying some of the comic skate books.
Yeah. And it's also been delaying some movies, too, some movie releases.
Really?
In China. Well, at least in China, right? And that, to me, is because that'll be a question that I'll bring up a little later, is about Mulan. Because Mulan was set to have a giant push in China, but China, for those that don't know, has shut down like 70,000 theaters, which is no small feat for them to do.
No, it's not.
No. So, Teresa, what do you think about it? 2020 Tokyo Olympics?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
If they don't get this thing under control, I can't imagine that they would. I'm even starting to imagine that we may not even be able to do international travel until they get it under control. When I found out about Italy, and with them starting to be thinking about closing their borders and towns, I can't imagine that international travel will be allowed until they freaking figure this out.
I know. Absolutely.
It's scary.
It is.
I mean, yeah. I usually do my annual trip to Ireland, and I'm thinking, I don't know if it's going to happen, if they're going to, international flights are going to be canceled, because dang it, we catch a cold so easily on an airplane. But, to have all these people traveling around and how communicable this disease is.
Yeah, my wife was already talking about it because she, is flying to California for a trip. And so she's already talking about wanting to wipe down her seat, which is stuff that you could probably and should do anyway, because how clean are those seats probably between flights? Probably not that clean, just to not try and catch a cold or catch anything, between those things. But yeah, I think you're right. That's something that could impact. And actually, that to me brings up the bigger point of with the Olympics is, will the teams be able to get into Japan if there's any bans for certain countries? Because every country can decide how they want to handle that. And so will every single Olympic team from every country be able to get in? Should be interesting. Rosetta, what do you think?
I'm not sure. I know a lot on international travel. I was just getting frustrated with screen share, so I sent them to you over in the Valhalla messages so you can share them, because it's not letting me no matter what I do.
All right. I will try to share them because I have so many screens open right now.
I know.
So let's see.
People.
Let's see. I can't share it through there, so I need to share it through here. So y'all won't see that. Y'all are gonna see my Opera browser as I pull it up, because this is all the way I can do it. Odin's Movie Blog. Okay, there we go. And then I need to find my messages. And then my messages. So let me just expand this out. How can I get to it?
You usually just click on the image.
There we go.
There.
All right, so these are the images that Rosetta's been working on. So we got Krista. This is the one that I know Krista has been going gaga for. Because it looks awesome. It looks fantastic. Looks just like her. So you got one for Krista. This is one that I don't think I had seen yet. So this is yours of Jesse Milestone. So very, very nice. And then that is Ruthie.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So for your drawings, for your work, do you just do it, eye to eye? Is there a sketching element? Is it all digital?
There's a little bit of multiple things, because on the very long edges and stuff, I get tremors from growing up with the seizures. So I actually sit there and create a grayscale first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I actually sit there and digitally render for a while and then print that and then do it on top of that. And
okay.
So it ends up being multiple things and pencil and paint and everything else in it before it's done.
Nice. Well, still very, very cool. They all look. I love for this one. Jesse's hair is fabulous.
Yeah, that was a pain to do.
Have you seen her hair in her videos? I can only imagine. There's a reason why she's constantly having to brush it out of her face. It's quite a lot to work with. And that is no shade being thrown to Jessie Milestone. She would also even admit that her hair is a piece of work to work with sometimes. Oh man. All right, let's see. Where were we? So yeah, anything else about Tokyo Olympics? Because that was a question that was asked. I personally think that yeah, go ahead.
It could be an issue depending on how things go. Because again, it's not that far from China. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
depending on how things spread or if they get things more under control, depends on how it's going to probably end up.
Yeah. And obviously with Japan, you think about big cities with lots of people very close together. Very easy.
Yeah, it's a very condensed island.
Yeah, very easy for things to spread. And I know that my family has some concern because my little brother somehow got tickets to the Summer Olympics. So he'll actually be traveling to Japan over the summer to go to, I don't know what events he got access to, but we're worried because we're hoping that by summer it'll mostly be, contained at the very least. And if not, hopefully having some type of, vaccine or some type of cure or something to help limit that, because I don't want his trip getting canceled, but I'm sure he's worried with everything being in such close proximity to all the majorly affected areas in China, especially. But yeah, I think that there's a chance that it could be canceled. And if not canceled, I would say the worst case scenario could be that certain teams can't show up and won't be able to fly in.
Wow.
Yeah. Spidey Flash says the new Clone Wars episode was great. It definitely echoed the past seasons. Yeah, that's what Teresa Martin was talking about, was about how just it captured that same exact spirit. And kudos to Dave Filoni. And Teresa, what are your thoughts on the fact that, and I looked for it, I even waited, no one watches the credits these days, but I did. Did you find it interesting that I think Kiri Hart's name was on it, but I did not see Kathleen Kennedy's name anywhere in the producers for that episode?
Oh, I didn't notice that at all. I didn't.
We don't see her name screen.
Yes.
I didn't. I didn't look at the credits. It would make sense, especially if they did most of the work before it even got Kathleen Kennedy and all them got going on it. But I think usually, yes, there is at least one token mention of Kathleen Kennedy as a quote unquote executive producer. I'm fascinated about that. I didn't even bother to look.
Yeah. I was looking at it, and I was like, I kind of wonder, because I remember for The Mandalorian, her name was listed as one of the producers, which of course makes sense. She's, presumably still the head of Lucasfilm, so we take that with a grain of salt about whether it's actually true or not. But it is interesting to see. But let me see if I can find official information on this bad boy. So let's see, full cast and crew, because I didn't see it in the originals. But yeah, because directed by Dave Filoni, was the supervising director. Kyle Dunleavy was directing the episode, supervised by Dave Filoni. Writing credits, George Lucas gets that writing credit, and then a couple of other people. And then, so here are the official producers: Carrie Beck, Dave Filoni, Caroline Robinson, Caramel, and Josh Rhimes. So I was actually wrong. Kiri Hart name was not listed there as a producer. So that's fascinating, because that would make sense, because Clone Wars, for those that don't know, was prior to the Lucasfilm takeover. So you would not have had any, the Disney takeover. So you would not have had any of those Disney higher-ups as a part of it. So that makes sense as to why both Kiri Hart and Kathleen Kennedy are not listed. So Carrie Beck is, as a co-producer, but that's about it. Wow, okay.
Yeah. Well, no complaints here.
Oh, no.
We're just fine without them, thank you very much.
I was thinking anytime we have less of her is always better.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Yeah. So that makes me happy. That actually makes me very happy. And also, guess what? Spidey Flash, that helps to explain why the episode was so good, because it didn't have any of her crap in it. So
precisely. Did you notice? Oh my gosh, there wasn't even one woman in the whole episode.
I did notice that. I did. And I was thinking, and I was like, you know what? Kathleen Kennedy would not have let that fly. There would have had to have at least one female character.
But remember, she believes the Force is female.
Yes.
Yeah.
Force is female.
Well, and again, I have no problem with women. I love Ahsoka. She's my favorite character in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But for crying out loud, if it makes sense to the story, they're all a bunch of clones, and then they're fighting against a bunch of droids. Yeah, okay, there we are. Wasn't it nice to just see a story instead of trying to go, oh my gosh, we've got to throw in Mr. or Miss Token?
Yeah, and you know what? This would have been the perfect episode for them to do that, because it's the Bad Batch. It's the clones that have something wrong with them. They could have easily said, oh yeah, this clone ended up becoming a female. They could have totally done that. Gosh. They could have done it. They could have made that. And you know what? To be honest, it would have worked. But I think...
Yeah, it would have.
Yeah, it would have worked. But you know what? I'm glad that they didn't, because there's something to be said about soldiers and the brotherhood of a group of all-male soldiers that is special and that is real too, right? That there's this sense of realism to it, that this is what soldiers in the field would be like. Because to my knowledge, I think even in the U.S. soldiers, they don't have men and women both in the same battalions or in the same groups. That could have changed.
And they shouldn't be.
Yeah, because it obviously can cause a lot of problems with romantic involvements and distractions.
Maternal, paternal instincts, survival instincts, the way both actually can fight, because we have different physical features, all that.
Yeah, that's why, and people say, oh, that's sexist. It's like, no, I'm not saying there shouldn't be an all-female squad, but if there is an all-female squad, it should be an all-female squad, because they will be... Science, right? They'll be able to work together more conducively than having a mixed batch, right? In this case, the Bad Batch, right? So yeah, I just thought about that. That probably explains it. And you know what? It worked. It worked.
Absolutely.
Yep. Also, shout out, Larry just became a member over on YouTube. Thank you for becoming a keeper of the Bifrost on the YouTube level. So I hope that you enjoy all the perks of all the little pictures and images. Sadly, they're not as good as DLive, because DLive, they're bigger and they actually work, the GIFs. But
yeah, but DLives all look like they're freaking strobing. It looks like they're trying to have a seizure.
Oh, I know. Yeah, for other
they
people,
really need to calm theirs down just a little.
Yeah, you should not go over to DLive, Rosetta. You should definitely not.
Yeah, I did briefly, and I never went back.
Yeah. Anyone who has a sensitivity to strobing, yeah, there's a couple that I post there when we do the giveaways through the chest. There's a chest function over there where we can give everyone cryptocurrency, basically. And the one that I like, it's a psychedelic frog that's constantly like just rolling around, but it's blinking lights and definitely not good for anyone with any type of sensitivity. But Larry, thank you very much for becoming a member. There was someone else that became a member too, and let me see if I can pull that up real quick, because they became a member before the stream even started, which was very, very impressive. So let's see if I can find it. And that's Comic Ozzy, which I think is great because kamikaze. So Comic Ozzy became a member at 5:40 this morning. Mm-hmm. So thank you very much for becoming a member at the Army of Asgard level. So I appreciate you very much, good sir. All right, jumping back into it. Let's see what else we got from the chat. Any?
Hey, Ode.
Yeah, what you got? Mr. Roy, thank you very much for being here. Mr. Roy, any last minute things that you want to say?
No, I gotta go do. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Hope you have a good one.
Be blessed.
Bye, Roy.
All right, yeah, he has a party to go to, so let's hope that he has fun at that party. Mr. Roy, thank you very much for being awesome and for being a part of the channel. Let's see here. 70B is telling people how to do things in the chat. GMonkey76 says, even though Kathleen Kennedy's name was not on the credits, I'm not getting my hopes up. I'll wait till the end of Clone Wars until I give my thoughts. And you know what, G-Monkey? I think that's a fair thing to say. I think that especially with the modern day, I mean, Teresa Martin, she said the same thing, right? That she wants to see how things are going to go, before she dedicates any time and energy. Because the last thing you want to do is spend hours and hours of your life only for it to all come crashing down because of a last episode or a last season.
Yeah, or as we said in the case of Game of Thrones, you dedicate a decade of your life.
Years and years of your life. Absolutely agreed. And the only thing that gives me hope, G-Monkey, though, is that if she's not on this episode, she's not likely going to be listed on other episodes, unless, of course, as I mentioned earlier, these are those last remnants from the pre-Disney era, and then there's going to eventually be a switchover. So that's actually something I'll look for. If Kathleen Kennedy's name's ever listed as a producer, that will tell you these are now the Disney Clone Wars episodes and not the originals. So we'll have to be on the lookout for that. Let's see. Alex McCarthy is still doing his okay in the chat. Ryan sold my fan fiction story. Laura, what's going on? Laura, glad to have you in the chat as always. She then says The Rock is in everything. Yes, this is true. These days, The Rock does seem to be in almost about everything. Let's see. Some people saying Sonic is cute. Yeah, some people did enjoy the film. At a Step with Reality, one of my members says, Odin, coming at us with another good time. I'm hoping that you and everyone else is having a good time. If you're in this chat, please smash that like button. Simple request from a simple man, as my boy Jeremy always loves to say. Laura says that she loves Olive Garden. I like Olive Garden as well. And then says 2003 Clone Wars is 2D animation. Okay, so I know that there were different series and then also different movies. Is that what it was? Or am I off base on that? Let us know in the chat if you know.
No. Yeah, well, sure. It was they had the little shorts.
Okay.
They weren't actually movies. In the movie, the one with the baby Jabba the Hutt's son, the little baby Hutt, and all of that was what kicked off the new version.
Okay.
So I think if I'm correct, the ones before, the ones that were between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, those are fun, but not even before things were decanonized. They kind of decanonized that to reboot it with the movie and then into the series. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is the way it worked out.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably have to dive further into that just to find out, because I do want to see all the different ways in which that story was laid out in the very beginning.
Mm-hmm. And there were some very moving moments in that version. They didn't show this in the Clone Wars show, the later one, but in the one that in between, when the short versions, you actually saw right after Anakin had the big cut across his face, and the first time that he goes back to Padme with that on his face. It's a very moving little scene.
Okay.
So they got some good moments.
Yeah. That's what I love about the whole Clone Wars series in general, is that there are a lot of those great moments. And as I said, it's a family show, not a kid show, because there are kid elements to it, for sure. You know, all of the separatist troops, you know, doing the Roger, Roger, and saying all like the really funny, you know, stupid things. Those are obviously being done for comedy, and the kids are going to laugh at it. But you know what? It made me laugh too sometimes. You know, it's just good family fun. That's what it is. It's good family fun.
I love the way that they're dumber than rocks too. They're like, uh-oh, what do we do?
Maybe it's just a training exercise.
Exactly.
And in fact, they actually have that line in this recent episode where they mention the training exercise, and I'm like, yes, it's exactly what I wanted to hear. HyperX13 says, is it true that the coronavirus was caused by a bioweapon? So from my knowledge of this topic, it's that research has shown that the strain of the virus that we have, the first case, the first verified case, seems to have started across from a lab. And so there's questions now into this lab about what they were doing there. And there is a lot of speculation, some news reporting on it too, that it was created.
It's not just a standard lab. It is a bio lab that specializes in studying biological warfare, weaponizing, and medical issues. So there is some discomfort in that combination being that close.
Yep.
And quote unquote studying and
studying, in other words, usually creating weaponry with that stuff. Yes.
It's all a little too close to the plot of Stephen King's The Stand for my comforts.
I've never seen that or read that before.
Oh yeah. The only difference was that it was a flu virus that was created in the United States that spread.
And you know what's creepy about all that stuff is that they do that all over the world. They, in order to fight viruses, create viruses. And sometimes in the creation of the viruses or trying to replicate the virus, they end up having a variation that is more deadly than the other. And all it takes is for one of those to get out. And that's what it looks like. So for those wondering, and I think that's what the question was, yeah, I think there is some legitimacy to this having been created in a lab and somehow it got out. And I don't think it was released on purpose necessarily. But I do think that it was something that was created in a lab and then got out. Now, the more we find out about it, the more information we'll get. But it's kind of crazy. Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
You got to remember, China isn't as strict in restrictions on bio stuff and how carefully you have to enter and leave the places as we are.
Yeah. They can clone, for example. They can play around with cloning.
And they just don't have the same health and safety code laws that we do.
Yep.
That's why they're all so daggone polluted over there, the pollution. And then you combine that with a totalitarian state, it's a very dangerous combination.
Yeah. Communism is it's a fascinating thing. There's a lot of evils to it, and if this is just another thing to add on to the list of why communism is bad, hey, let's add that to the list. Coronavirus, brought to you by communism. Brought to you by communism.
That Iron Curtain. I don't know if you were alive, Odin, when the Iron Curtain was still up when I was a teenager, and you want to talk about some serious evils. And we didn't have to be told how bad communism was. It was a constant reminder.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's interesting about the current political climate is that these discussion points are coming back up now because there was a time, I was born in 88. So was that right after the Berlin Wall fell or the Iron Curtain rather during the...
Oh, that was 1 year.
Iron
So
Curtain.
you weren't alive when the wall fell. I mean, I'll tell you what, when that wall came down,
Yeah.
I mean, we all just cried. We just couldn't believe that it happened. Seeing those people being allowed out and the footage of them, they're in German, they're saying, let us out.
Yeah.
And the guards couldn't do anything. It was amazing. And like, welcome to freedom. And then they did Beethoven's Ninth Symphony and changed the word from Freuden to Freiheit. Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm getting emotional here.
Oh, no.
I keep reminding myself that he's younger than I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
still a young
amazing.
pup.
Yeah, but you can always study those things too, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the footage is there. It was such a reality of my growing up, and then it was almost like, well, what do we do now? We're not afraid of communism, or at least the overt one when the Soviet Union fell. I was in the middle of taking an international studies class, and I just couldn't believe it. And the teacher was like, well, that map we all just got done memorizing. Well, kids, it's about to change.
You see, I'm young enough to where, or old enough, however it is you want to say it, where I remember when Yugoslavia was still a thing. Right. So that's like my big thing is that I remember when Yugoslavia was its own country and then the eventual breakup that happened from those countries. But yeah, I just missed out on the wall being brought down, and of course that famous speech, tear down this wall. I just missed out on those things. But when it's awesome to look back at the videos because you had the moments where the president was saying these things, and then the actually bringing it to fruition, and it's amazing though how we look back at that, we look back at our history and our past, and there's so many ideas that were fought against at that time, and look where we are now. We're still trying to push some of these ideas, thinking it's not the same thing. We swear it's not the same thing, and it's like, tomato.
Yes, it is.
Tomato, in my opinion.
It's the exact same thing. They're just trying to respin it to ram it down your throat a different way.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it'll be different this time.
I swear.
How many times has that been said? Here's the thing. You cannot.
Yeah, like for 200 years?
Yeah.
I'll go a little political on this. You cannot. Communism and socialism can never work because you cannot trust a government to have that much power, because there will always be somebody who gets into an office who decides, I want that power for myself.
Power. Yeah, exactly. But
because humans
Rosetta,
are fallible. You
Animal
don't
Farm.
give any of them too much power.
Rosetta, I'm talking about Denmark. I'm talking about places like Denmark, okay?
They're still,
where they've got like 1 million people.
And also,
Yeah, it does work. And Iceland is
countries-
great. It works in Iceland. You've got 300,000 people. It works lovely.
Iceland is still force supporting kids with Downs, so I won't even go there.
Yeah.
Oh
It
no!
doesn't work.
She was being-
I'm,
yes.
I'm completely pluralized on that. Yeah.
That's the thing.
I'm
There's
just saying
still
that
rationing healthcare. There's still forms of death panels. There's still you're not worth the system.
Not to mention
They've always existed.
the
Every country
taxes.
that does it.
The taxes on the poor in those countries are also much higher than they are here. But we can't talk about that. We can't talk about the reality of the situation because
Here, I'll throw the truth out there. I don't care what people think right now of me politically. How about, if you actually look at the numbers on what Bernie is suggesting, if you get the raise that he wants everyone to have in minimum wage, it would put everybody that's just under the poverty line in his 60% tax bracket.
Mm-hmm.
And they would actually have a take home of only about $10,000 to $12,000 a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people don't like to talk about the truth, and that's why I and the Otis Movie Blog channel and I personally, we take the stance of they're all stupid, and independence is the way to go. Independent thinking, looking at people not based on the letter next to their name, but based on the content of who they are, based on what they say, based on their history, based on can they be trusted, and sometimes in some situations, no one fits that bill. And sometimes that means that we have to try to resist and push and do everything that we can. For anyone that did not want us to jump on our soapboxes for that hot second, I apologize.
But because I'm reaching this point where I don't care what people hear or see about politics anymore.
Yeah.
Because I'm reaching the point where I'm disconnecting from a lot of the stuff I was protecting with it. So.
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, sure. And I want to clarify, when I mentioned Iceland, I was just talking about they are using examples of where there are populations that are very small. And I agree with your point about that they're not necessarily access to it. But I was just saying that you can't compare
those are the names
a country with 400 million people to a country of 300,000.
Exactly. If you're talking about, if you were going to say we should do it state by state, hey, I'm all 10th Amendment, right? If a state wants to do something, go ahead and try. And if you fail on your own. If you succeed, great, we can try and adopt your policies. But if you try it as an entire nation and you're made up of several states that are supposed to have some semblance of independence, and then you fail, everyone fails, and that's not good for anyone. So. Yeah. Or
it's a redistribution of wealth. I've said before about living in, growing up in Ireland, and yes, it is rationed. They put you on a list if you're of a certain age. My dad had a coworker over there whose father was of an age, and he needed to have a quadruple bypass surgery, and he was put on a wait list. He had to wait nearly a year. He was lucky; he survived long enough to do that. But there's a hope that these people will die so that they won't have to do the expensive surgeries. So anyone that had money over there, the second they had a really serious illness, they hopped on an airplane, came straight to the United States.
Yeah. It's just crazy. And, a couple of people adding to the discussion, seeing, since this all comes across from coronavirus, et cetera. Laura says in there, it's airborne. Wiping the seats won't help with the virus. That's why a lot of people are not just wiping the seats, because that's for other diseases that you could possibly catch. But they're also wearing masks. Like my dad recently was on a flight. He wore a mask, and apparently there were 2 other people on there with that.
Can I point out that actually doesn't prevent airborne diseases because they can still get on your skin?
Yeah, I think that it's mostly a thing of it limits it. It makes it less.
If you wear it, it doesn't do much for the person wearing it. If you have these diseases, it helps you not spread it.
Yeah.
But they've kind of misnomered it as being this really effective thing on both ends, and it actually really isn't.
I think anything that limits it is somewhat, even if it's not like gonna stop it completely, anything that limits access into the body, I think is going to have some type of benefit to it, would be my argument, I guess.
Yeah, it's very
well, sure,
it's like to me it's like hand sanitizer, right? There's some people that think, oh, I use hand sanitizer, I'm okay, but then they forget that hand sanitizer only takes care of a certain type of, it's antibacterial,
and it only takes care of bacteria in one little spot, and only takes care of some types.
Exactly. Yep.
It's like the people who, okay, I've had all the vaccines, I'm fine to go around other people. Well, there's a lot of diseases that aren't vaccinated for. You can still pick some things up on your skin and spread them, even if you're immune to it.
Yeah.
Because you still have to take precautions if you're going to be around people who can't have them or haven't had them yet or other stuff. You still need to be responsible.
Yep. Because if you have a flu shot, then what you get is resistance to certain types of the flu. But just like with any other disease, there can be these variations that pop up that your system is not prepared for. So always take precautions no matter what.
And and sure, a lot of these diseases, they spread through the orifices, if you will. And so at least the nose and the mouth is covered. Technically, we should cover, your ears, your nose, and your mouth, and your eyes. Those are the ways that they're, and there's one other area, but I'm not going to say it. That is usually covered up, hopefully. But yeah, technically we should just have...
there's a couple extras if we're female here. Let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Yeah, that's why.
Exactly. 2 more.
Yeah, we should all just live in bubbles. Let's just all live in bubbles at this point. Seriously, Bubble Boy the movie. Let's all just live in bubbles and protect ourselves from everything.
Well, I'll tell you, it's my goal to be a hermit, but without the religious vows.
Okay.
So that's my dream, to be independently wealthy enough to be a hermit with Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I've already
I
said.
may have that dream before I'm done because there's getting pretty good internet signal in parts of the mountains over back home now.
There you go. Yeah, I know for me,
Mm-hmm.
I've already, like, because I came back from a monastery recently, and I shared a video on the secondary channel, and my wife asked me point blank saying, so, if anything ever happens to me, are you going to become a monk? And I'm like, there's a pretty good chance that let's not think about that, because that's not going to happen. You're living forever, by the way. But if for God's sake and reason, anything that happens, then yeah, I might go off and become a monk if I could take my dogs with me, of course, because they're sleepy and they're adorable. By the way, very much considering buying a second camera for the channel so that I can get the legit dog camera view going. So look for that.
Well, you just want to have a little camera in the back that's focused on the chair they like to hang out on?
Exactly. So basically, I'm thinking of getting a camera.
Oh, cool.
I'm thinking of getting a new camera for my main setup and then using the camera I have now, setting it up on my TV, and then cropping it in. That way you get, like, it's not going to be the highest quality, but you'll have like a nice, like, fresh image of mostly this little one back here, little Willow. She is just always there, always cute. It's hard to get River because she's on the floor and everything, but oh yeah, I'm like so tempted now to get that secondary one so that way I can get an image with them on it.
Yeah, people like pet stuff. I've had people ask me to do videos of my stupid cats because of the crazy stuff they do on my stream.
Yeah. Hey, some people, they like it. Laura in the chat says, I think the virus is just an excuse for countries to shut their borders who wanted to anyway. I think that's a fair point, too. I think that could be it. HyperNext13 then says, coronavirus versus Black Plague. Yeah, something tells me the Black Plague will have had many more deaths to it than coronavirus. No question about that.
Yeah.
And then,
I'm all for conspiracy theories.
pretty much. Laura then says it's airborne. Wiping the seats won't help any. That's what I figured. Let's see. 70B says, really? Dun, dun, dun. Talking about no Kathleen Kennedy in the credits. Yes, indeed. She was not mentioned in those credits. As then Laura posts the picture that she shared. So thank Laura for having that new image. It's a picture of me doing Blue Steel, wearing the Derek Zoolander headband that had the Derek Zoolander hair to it. So thanks to her for having that there. Sasha Neon says, Kathleen Kennedy banned from sets and now credits? Oh, happy days. Yeah. I guess I can get that question around. So Teresa Martin, what are your thoughts about that rumor that was being pushed around that Kathleen Kennedy was banned from the set of season 2 of Mandalorian? Do you think it's true?
I think that's a bunch of nonsense.
Okay. Yeah.
I could imagine her not having a part of it, but she is the president of Lucasfilm. Like it or not, I cannot imagine anyone having the power to say, "No, ma'am, you are banned." Mm-hmm. I think she can visit anytime she wants. Now, maybe she's not having any creative control. Maybe Iger said that, but to ban her from the set, I think that's just a rumor. I can't imagine. It just doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm. Seems to make sense.
I mean, we wish it could be true, but
yeah,
I don't think it is either.
I mean, you're banned. You're president of everything, but you can't even come and look at the set. No.
I agree.
No, we all wish it was true, but I don't think it is.
Yeah, and that's why I'm glad it was reported by all sites. I think Doomcock Source was the one that first broke it, and then I picked it up from Bounding, and both of them made it very clear this is rumor territory. And I think that is something that we all, of course, want to happen. We want it to be true because it should be true at this point. She should step down early. She should give it up because at this point, what is she doing, right? What is she honestly doing to help benefit anything except delaying shows? Because now you have also Cassian Andor, which has now gone into further delay for script rewrites. And it's just like, guarantee you, Kathleen Kennedy was the one that said, I don't like this story, rewrite it. And probably was something to the effect of, we need more women characters in this show, man.
Oh, for sake. I mean...
I'm really hoping...
I can stop myself before you say the rest of that statement.
That's okay. What were you going to say, Teresa?
I was just saying, I'm really hoping that this time around, that when her contract is up, that they're going to choose that moment to make up whatever nonsense story they want to say, hey, she's done great stuff, but she's moving on to other things. Thank you, Kathleen Kennedy. You're marvelous. But technically she's gone, that her contract will not be renewed.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to. Go if you want to go ahead and give her, a shining send off with trumpets and flares and all the bells and whistles, go right ahead, as long as it means that she's gone. But also, here's the other thing that some people don't talk about. Her replacement is good. Her replacement is competent. Because if you're just going to replace her with someone else that is as incompetent as far as creative control goes, then it means nothing. If she's gone, okay, she's just been replaced by a robot, basically, of someone that's going to do the same exact thing. But if she's replaced with a competent person, then I'll celebrate. Then I'll be excited for Star Wars again. But
yeah, precisely.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
I have no doubt. I'm not going to totally knock Kathleen Kennedy, because in the sense of what she has done as a producer in the past, and even to a certain degree, I'm sure she's marvelous and has been marvelous about the money, the management of money, a lot of times what the producers do, they're the ones that go and they book the facilities, they do all that stuff. I'm sure she's marvelous at that. Where everything went wrong was when she got into creative. So it's like, lady, if you want to go off and do some more producing and not creative, well, more power to you. But as you say, get far away from the creative and influence over the stories.
Exactly. Seriously, exactly. I think that, and that's why I've always been that person where I'll give her the benefit of the doubt that she probably is good with money. But even that's hard to do, or like harder to do now, when you look at how much money they spent on Rise of Skywalker. Because I honestly want to know what their final number was for how much they spent on marketing for that movie. Because most films spend about 1.5 times the budget. I can't imagine that it was that low for this movie. I think they spent way more than normal. And if they spent that much money only to barely, at this point, be actually less than Joker, which costs $55 million and was rated R, and even if they do pass it up to barely pass up Joker, that is not good handling of money by any means.
Yeah. And, I've seen the multiple reports on this, on whether or not Disney's actually made money out of buying this. And I have yet to find any of them that actually account for how much they actually spent on making each movie, how much they actually spent on making the merchandising and stuff like that. It's just purely, this is how much it made in the box office. This is how many toys they sold. It's like, well, that's only half the picture. And
it's hard to gauge some of those things because, and here's the thing too, that people don't understand, those licensing agreements that they have, if let's say Toys R Us, rest in peace, but I guess technically it's coming back now. Let's say that they have a series of toys. Disney has already gotten money for those toys because basically whatever company makes those toys, because of the licensing agreements, Disney already gets money from that licensing agreement to allow a company to have access to their material. Now, they'll get probably extra money for any single unit that's sold, but they still have already made some money from that. So that's why for me, I always make it clear in my videos, I am just speaking about how much money based solely on box office, based solely on how much they get, on how much they've spent, etc. Because this does not take into account other revenue streams that they have access to. Especially, think about TNT, TBS. They still have the right to show the original Star Wars movies. Like just recently, they had a marathon because they still hold on to some of those rights. That is money that was given at some point to Lucasfilm, was given at some point to, I think at that point, Fox or whoever owned it at the time when that deal was made. Actually, that was the deal they made with Kathleen Kennedy, because oh man, I forgot about that. This gem, again, Kathleen Kennedy, she's good with money. Is she really? She made a deal that allowed them to have streaming rights. And that's the reason why they didn't have all Star Wars films day one of Disney Plus, was because of the deals Kathleen Kennedy and others had made with these other companies.
Yep. Well, and I don't want to call it money laundering because it's not money laundering if it's your own company. But right now, all of this Baby Yoda stuff that's coming out, they might make a buttload of money. I'm almost positive they will. Everyone, and I mean everyone I know, my coworkers, my family, everyone wants to buy one of those daggone life-size plushie things. And
I know not you, but even people that have never seen the show, though, that's the big thing. This is going to be a big seller from both people that watched the show and didn't watch the show.
Exactly. Because a lot of people think it really is Baby Yoda and not the child. Mm-hmm. They're going to make a crap load of money off of that. And so will that offset some of their other losses?
Yeah. And then also, too, people forget Disney is a multi-level company. And when you look to their Marvel films, they're making crap loads of money from Marvel. When you look to their Star Wars movies, most of their Star Wars films have been profitable. Obviously, hashtag Solo lost money. And hashtag, I think, honestly, Rise of Skywalker probably lost money, too. But even with those it being in the case there, they're still making enough money in all these other revenues where it's...
But movie by movie, those are profitable. But when you think about how many billions they spent to get Lucasfilm, I still don't think they've made up that money yet after you take out all the expenses.
Based solely on the movies, they haven't. They're still about $3 billion in the red if you only look at the movies, but that's not including merchandising, not including Blu-ray sales, not including licensing agreements with television production, like TNT, TBS, things like that. So I don't know how close they are to making it up, but just based on the movies, no, they're not even close.
I'm just saying, as somebody who's done numbers and stats and dealt with what it costs to make things and ship things and stuff, I don't see it even with the merchandise they've sold so far based on the numbers I can find listed officially.
But as I said, the only problem with following the merchandise sales is that they get basically stipends, not stipends, but they get a cut of all merchandise sale, but they've already made money from the licensing agreement that they made to get the toys made. So they've already gotten paid from that company.
That's why I try to look at what the companies actually listed as having made them on them officially by the company and through like Forbes and those, because it does tend to be more accurate than other reports. But I still don't see enough that I think it's actually in the black yet for buying.
I feel the same.
They've spent
I feel the same.
A lot of money on doing this beyond just buying it.
Yeah, I feel the same because, as I said, they're about $3 billion in the hole just based off of the movies. And here's the other problem with that $3 billion number is that the $4 billion that George Lucas got, only. Let me go ahead and close that. All right. The $4 billion that George Lucas got, only about $2 billion of that was actual cash. The rest was in stock. And so there's different ways you could argue the point because, one, the stock that he bought now is worth like 4 to 6 times what it originally was. So do you count that as a loss for Disney or not, seeing that it seems that both benefited from the stock that they have? So that's one part of the equation. And then the second part is even if you just take the $2 billion he got in cash, they still haven't made up that money either. So it's a big question mark, and I hope one day someone does who has access to all that information, can do a full-fledged study on how much money they've made. But
because all I can do is look at what's officially listed, and it still, to me, doesn't add up.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly right. That's where I am, too.
Though I think that we could all agree that at the end of the day, as money-wise, George Lucas cleaned house, and more power to him. You take every penny you can from those people.
He sold his child. Let's go for it.
Hey, you know what? I'm getting cynical as I get older.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, take the money and run. Take that money and run.
Yeah, I'm mixed on that too.
All the times he said that he would never support this or this or this being done because it was like his child, and then all of a sudden he sells it and he doesn't care what they're doing to it hardly.
Yeah, I'm mixed on it personally because
that bothers me.
Yeah,
because he flip-flopped his positions.
Yeah, I'm mixed because I'm glad that he got the money. I'm glad that he got the money from Disney and
anything that takes Disney's money away, I'm kind of in favor of.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, also
Duck Disney.
Yeah, Duck Disney, exactly. But also, he came out of it looking best, Now what is everyone's number one, or at least in their top two things of how to fix Disney? Let's bring George Lucas back in some capacity, right? That's what most people will say. So there's more people that think positively of him now than they did when he sold the company, right? Because before he sold it, not everyone watched Clone Wars. Everyone that did said, "Oh, this is great. I love it. This is what the Star Wars should be like." But for most other people that weren't in Clone Wars, the last thing they remembered was the prequels, and that left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And so I think that he did come away with it better than going in, because he got a lot of money. He is still, I think, the head stockholder in Disney, or in Lucasfilm still. And yeah. But jumping back into the chat, HyperNext13 says, Eternals sounds so bad after hearing the cast and crew crying in joy over a gay kiss. Sounds woke. Yeah, if your whole cast and crew is verbally and emotionally reacting to something that should be pretty standard in our society at this point, that sounds odd to me. So I question that report. Let's see. Glinzer says, Brotherhood? Odin, you a toxic male misogynistic sessex whammon hater. Of course I am, Glinzer. You're right. Oh, man. And I'm so far behind the chat. So some people can say, why are they talking about things that happened 20 minutes ago? Well, it's because I fall behind.
You're always behind.
I'm always behind. That's what happens. That's what happens. All right, let's see. Where are we? Oh, man. It's been a lot of comments since then. All right, so some comments may have been skipped. Various story. Larry, though, said 1989 is when the wall fell. So I was a baby. I was a baby, if that's the case. Rafal says, have you heard 200 meters from Fish Market, they were keeping bats in lab, and Chinese media said it's possible? Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier, about how because they had that lab across the street from where the first case is said to have happened, that there likely could be a connection there. Jeremy Swig says, communism is like Amber Heard. Don't worry, baby. I won't hurt you. It'll be different this time.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Oh.
It's actually
but
true.
It's true, kind of.
It's so true, though.
I'm just trying to swear again.
Jeremy Swiggs, controversial, but I would say pretty accurate for the most part.
Oh, damn. I mean,
it's okay. We have a priest in the chat to give us absolution.
Oh, is Father in the chat today?
Yes, he is.
Oh, good. Hail, Father. Hail. I'll get to your comments eventually, I promise. Orange Chat Reviews says, what many people forget is socialism is a transitory step in government. It inevitably leads to communism. Yeah, even the father of communism himself said that socialism is the gateway to it. It is from the beginning meant to be that step forward to communism, because as I think it was Rosetta said, that you get to a point where someone wants to have the power. And that is what eventually leads to the taking over of the means of production. And that's what communism is, taking over the means of production by the government.
You cannot erase human nature.
Nope. And you know what?
It's original sin. Oh, wait, I don't want to get theological, but,
Please do.
There's always going to... There's always going to be bad people, and you cannot change that.
Mm-hmm.
All you can do is make sure that they don't have a lot of power to hold over other people,
Yep.
and other people have ways to defend themselves.
Yep, exactly right. And I think that also it helps to explain why they knew this too. They knew people would always want to desire this power, would always want to try and take it on for themselves, and why we need to be very careful, because all these things sound great, right? Free college, free healthcare, free this, free that. And then, but how do you get the cost for it? Oh, you just raise the taxes on the rich, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then eventually, guess what happens from that? There's no such thing as free. Everything that is produced.
We're all rich. We're going to find out we're rich.
I know, right?
Everybody's rich, so everyone's tax.
Bernie's tax rate wants to start at $32K. The national poverty line now is 35.
Yeah, and I'm not even.
He wants to start his 60% rich tax bracket under the poverty line.
Now, to be fair, just because a candidate says they want something doesn't mean they get it, because Congress still has to
No, but I'm
pass
saying,
through
let's
stuff.
look realistically at what he wants.
Yeah.
Would be trying to make the middle class and poor rich in his standards so he can tax them more.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Sorry to offend people.
Yeah.
Not really.
Well,
Truth hurts.
yeah.
I try and stay away.
I just think Dostoevsky.
Yeah, I try and stay away
He says a lot about
from
that.
naming names and policies specifically when I can.
I usually do, but recently I just don't care.
Yeah.
Well,
All I can
that's
say
one
is,
reason why I
Bernie
love-
Bros, don't go after me, okay?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm right
Yeah.
here. Just go to my Twitter after the stream and bitch at me. I'm good. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. Well, I love the
Dang it, I almost made
Dostoevsky
it.
crime and punishment, because I think that it really shows that whole thing about man versus Superman. That the people that believe that they're Supermen and that they're allowed to break the rules, and what it ends up with. So a good study on all of this is crime and punishment.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And getting back to your point you said before about, original sin and just the nature of mankind, and here's the thing too, is that I don't ever want to weed out those natures. And the reason why is because you can't. And there's some people, though, that think you can. And I know that it's movies that we see this happen in, but there's a movie called Equilibrium that I love. I think it's a fantastic dystopian future film, but it's based in something that I think some people could try. The same thing happens actually in the movie Serenity as well. People think we can control human behavior. And so people are trying, and I guarantee you this is happening now. There are people in labs that are trying to formulate pills to control aggression, to control human emotions. And as soon as that starts to happen, you start to realize the levels of control that are going to be brought about and the evils that can be brought about by it. So, yeah, I don't want people to stop being bad people, right? I want people to seek forgiveness. I want people to change on their own. And that's the reason why I want them to be people, because as soon as you start forcing people to do stuff, that's when the problems come in.
Exactly. You cannot legislate human behavior.
Nope. You can punish it if it wrongs society and wrongs the human person.
Yes.
Right? It's fine to do that. But to control it, to think, oh, I can do this to X person and it's going to now make them this chemically, so many problems. Ethical and so many others. But anyway, 70B says, you said precautions. I did say precautions, Stephanie. You're right. Glinzer says, K9 Cam, great idea. Okay, glad to hear it. I'll try and get on that soon. 70B then says, a monkey? Praying? A monkey? I can't get a monkey. They're dangerous. Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, says, okay, I'm on now. You can end the stream. Ah, yes, because Father always jumps on whenever we're near the end of the stream. We can go for a little bit longer, though, Father. So, in fact, you jumped on at 1:30, so you've been here for 20 minutes. So, yeah, you've gotten a good bit of the stream, Father. Happy Dinosaur 8000. Happy day to you, Odin. Happy day to you, Happy Dinosaur. I'm glad to hear that you're a happy dinosaur today. Let's see. Larry says, leaving to spend more time with the family, universal excuse. But it's real. Orange Chat reviews, when they replace her and it's a guy, watch them claim sexism. That's talking about replacing Kathleen Kennedy. Yes. Oh, if they replace Kathleen Kennedy with a male, even if it's someone like Jon Favreau, they will flip. No question. Jeremy Swiggs, like getting the choice, and then says coffee. Oh, man, the context has been completely lost on me now because we've gone off on so many different things. Father Christopher Miller says Shazbat, or Shabbat? No, Shazbat. That's Shaz. What's Shazbat? What? Anyone know what Shazbat means? I'll take that as a no. Rafal says, have you heard the coronavirus getting out of control in South Korea? Italy, Japan, Italy, Iran is weird for some reason. Coronavirus there has high death rate, 17%, bigger than SARS, 10%. Yeah, I haven't been following it, to be honest, a whole lot, because I do think that there are some people that are trying to play alarmism with it. What I think about it is that it's bad because people are dying. We should take every precaution that we can to try and both limit and eliminate it. And unfortunately, there are other countries that don't have the same mindsets and don't have the same capacities that we do to be able to do such a thing. So whatever we can do to help those people, to help those countries try and destroy it, I think we morally should do. 70B then says, you are 100% correct about the Star Wars Marathon on TBS. I thought I saw that on the other day. Father then says, yeah, he took the money, but what does it gain one to gain the whole world? That's right, Father.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about George
Lose
Lucas.
your soul.
Talking about George Lucas there. Alrighty. Let's see. Where is it? Orange Hat. How is the SEC investigation going into Disney for inflating revenue? Have not seen any updates on that, so I'm assuming the investigation is still going on. Father says, in the communism viewpoint, dark humor is like food. Not everyone gets it. Father. Dropping that. Oh, Father. Always dropping those bombs.
Have a little sardonic humor. It does you worlds of good.
Father then says, can we have a presidential debate watch party this fall? No. If we do, it's not going to be on this channel. Maybe on the Welcome to Asgard channel. Maybe even on D Live. But I'm gonna stay away from that stuff, because I actually, to be honest, I like to just watch and have my popcorn and chips and just be ready for the insanity to ensue. But I probably won't.
In other words, you watch it like a train wreck.
Yeah, exactly.
Same way I watch like cheerleader movies and stuff to see the horrific end.
Exactly. Glenzer then says, Bernie Sanders' campaign song should be "I Want It All" by Queen.
Yes.
Oh, that sounds great.
No.
Father then says, I'm switching over to BBC in about 20 minutes. Let's see. Father then says, Mork and Mindy. Okay, stop with the Mork and Mindy.
He's going to torture himself with watching Doctor Who.
He's going to do that. And stop with the Mork and Mindy references. I don't get them. I never watched Mork and Mindy. I know what it is. I know of it, but I've never watched
More
it.
80s failures.
I know. But seriously, I feel like the last 3 chats, there have been people with Mork and Mindy references, and they've gone over my head, and I still don't get them. So
a lot of stuff goes over your head, Odin.
Yes, I know. It's my ADD. I can't help it.
Oh man, you need to watch. I mean, gosh, it was stupid. It was stupid, but it was what gave us Robin Williams. Gosh, he was amazing in that.
I would watch it just for him mostly, because I love his work. Oh man, G Monkey then says, it's already happening. Look at how many kids have ADHD, and the first thing they do is medicate the kids. Yeah, to that point, as someone that does have it, it is definitely being overprescribed, over-medicated for sure. Because there are kids that are just hyperactive that are being put on medication when they shouldn't be. But there are also kids that honestly do have it, where they are being impacted by it. So I think that is something that we need to be careful, where we don't just, because he put ADHD in quotes. It is real. It does exist. Is it being prescribed? Is it being overdiagnosed? Yes. I will agree with you there. It's being overdiagnosed. But some kids, me being one of them, when I was a kid that got kicked out of a school before I started getting treatment. All right. I got kicked out of a grammar school. I was in kindergarten and I got kicked out. Right.
I got kicked out of a private school when I was 11.
Yeah. And the reason why was because I could not stay focused on anything going on.
I never got kicked out of a school.
Oh, there you go.
To be fair, you got kicked out for a much milder reason than I did, okay?
Yes, probably. But
let's just say I don't tolerate bullies, and we'll leave it at that.
Yes, for sure. But here's the thing, too, though. I didn't just get thrown on medication. I got medication and therapy. And that is the key component that's missing from modern day life, is that they just get the medication. Parents just want the quick fix, and they don't want the long term, because guess what? If you have ADD, the medication helps you get focused enough to be able to start, creating habits. And then over time, you no longer need the medication to keep the habits going.
Yeah, and see, for me, I had the hyperactive issues reacted with the seizures, so I had a rare type. But my mom was always determined she was going to put me on these meds because of all the side effect possibilities of the other stuff I was going through. So it was, you're going to learn how to use what you have and actually just use the energy.
Yeah.
Which was an interesting childhood, but at least I actually learned how to do a lot of stuff and get a lot of stuff done.
Yeah, absolutely. JP Gotro Kits says, I think he meant Shazbot. It's Mork and Mindy, of course, a show that was long
Shazbot.
off. Shazbot. Okay. By the time that you were,
which was actually Robin Williams trying to get away with saying "oh shit" on the air.
Ah, okay, I gotcha. As you drop it here on my channel, how dare you?
Sorry,
Soul Assassin. That's okay. Soul Assassin. I hear you. That I do know from the show. Nano. I do know that. Nano.
You also remember he sat on his head with his face sticking out between his legs.
I have no frame of reference.
70. That's how he got the job. Actually, here's a little historical thing for you. When he went in to do the interview for the job, when it was a episode of Happy Days.
Yeah. Before
they actually decided to make a show of it, they didn't give any of the actors anything going in, but do something to act alien and weird. He walked past Gary Marshall, sat down with his head on the chair, stuck his legs up, put his hand between his legs, and went, "Nado," at him. And that's how he got the job.
Wow.
I love it. Rest in peace, Robin Williams. That dude.
He had a brilliant sense of humor. He was so amazing.
Great. So great. I love it. 70B says, oh, poor little Odin. Yeah, I was a poor little child. Soul Assassin, when I was in high school, they gave medication to anyone for any little thing. Yep, and that's the problem, is that it's definitely over-medicated and not... there's not enough therapy in the world. But also a big problem, not enough therapists in the world. So if you feel drawn to that field, please go out of your way to do it, because we need more therapists in this world because we don't have enough. Let's see.
Especially in early childhood.
Yes.
These kids need help. It just breaks your heart.
It does. Absolutely agree. And it's especially someone that works in high school, not enough of them have access to therapy. Medication's easy. Therapy is a lot harder because it takes more time, and unfortunately it takes more money too. Father then says, ADH brothers of the world, unite! And Orange Hat says, my ADHD led to a lot of problems in school. Adult life became way better outside of school. Yeah, exactly. Certain times of the, sometimes it's the environment, and that's why, medication, therapy together, both are tremendous things. But we talked about a wide gambit of things today.
What's weird?
Yeah, from politics to ADHD to the coronavirus, talking some shows, but we are nearing towards the end because I have to eat some lunch because I'm getting a little hungry. I then have to and Teresa Martin, to share this with you, because you on your channel from time to time do the rosary. And,
yes, sir.
And I always love that. Whenever I can join, I love it because I'm a Catholic. And so I always do appreciate that and having that time to pray. But have you ever heard of the total consecration to Jesus through Mary?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, this is the one by St. Louis de Montfort.
Oh, yeah, St. Louis. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's something that I just started. I'm on day 3 of that. So I need to do my day 3 prayers after this too. But I figured I'd share that with you because I know that you are also pretty hardcore Catholic with me. So
yeah. well, the way I figure it, if you got to get up and go to mass once a week and all those other days, you may as well do it.
Exactly, right?
If you're all in, you know what? It's loads of fun. But well, good for you. And of course, we have Lent coming up.
Yes,
Woo!
yes, indeed, absolutely. And I guess to wrap things up, I'll have a double question for both of you before we leave. So we'll start off with you, Teresa, as the new member. So Teresa, anything that you can share? Obviously, some things with Lent are more personal, but anything you're planning to do for Lent, and after that, anything else that you want to talk about today or say before we go.
Oh, for sure. Well, Lent is always just a weird time for me because usually the typical things to give up are food or candy or all that. And I usually, as I get older, I'm like, sometimes I just give up at Lent.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working through what I'm needing to think to do that. Like I need to give up anger or stressing or things like that, like working, especially work. I have a very high stress job. I don't share what it is, but it is a very high stress job. So that's what I'm going to be working on. So a lot more focusing on really making sure I hit the gym every day, no matter how late I get home from work, things like that. And same thing with no matter how tempted I am when I get home from work, working on having a healthy meal instead of the fast food, because at the end of the day, that doesn't help you either. So that's what I'm planning to do with Lent, and more stuff with my channel. I love doing it. My channel's a little schizophrenic. I do cats. I got a lot of cats. Got my travel. I'm wanting to do more bedtime reading for live streams. I do Catholic explaining. I do reviews. I'm wanting to do more of that because I do find that it's a nice way to unwind at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And for anyone that has never been on her channel before, doing her rosary streams especially, it really is. It's just very low key. It's quiet. It's solemn. And I remember being in there praying one time, and there were people who were not Catholic who were just, this is just beautiful. And they would just listen to the prayers and just listen to everything. And it's just a great place to chill, get out of the noise, get out of just the nonstop madness that sometimes happens. So please, check out Teresa Martin's channel. Go give her a like, go give her subscribe, and check her stuff out. So anything else that you want to say?
Well, I'm actually, as far as movies, I'm planning, my goal is to see Little Women. I held off for the longest time because of the way that it was marketed, but I've actually heard the movie's pretty good, and I'm a big Little Women fan. So that's what I'm doing as far as pop culture. That's going to be my next goal, and I'll probably be doing a review. But I also want to say thank you, Odin. You've given me hours and hours of also chill and de-stressing. I always know when I come on, it's going to be a good time. There's always going to be good things to talk about. The people in the chat are always marvelous. You keep a really positive channel. And so I feel very grateful to be here and to be able to stream with you.
Well, great. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, I always try to keep it, a family-friendly show. That's why I don't curse on the channel, and I try and keep things as low key as. And also, a lot of that with the chat itself, not only do I think I have like the best community, like the best chat, in the planet, because everyone is just so, supportive, so nice, and they know the rules, they play by the rules, but also, of course, gotta shout out my Valkyrie, Tina, and Steph, because they also keep everything flowing. They help people out in the chat if they're confused. They guide people along, and there are just some great discussions that happen in the chat, even outside of what we're talking about on the channel. Because sometimes there's people there that they don't want to talk about what I'm talking about, so they'll just talk to each other about whatever it is that they want to discuss. And it's just a great place to come where you can just be yourself and not have to worry about,
I love it here.
Yeah, it's
because you do try to keep a more respectful tone to the chat, and I realize times I have failed that.
It's okay. But with that being said, Rosetta, anything that you want to say? If you're planning on doing anything for Lent, you could talk about that. If not, any other things that you want to talk about?
I don't do the Catholic side of things, so
okay.
Not really. I'm not into the denomination stuff.
That's okay.
I believe, but it's different for me. But for me, it's more I'm just trying to figure out how to do this trip, and that alone is the fun part, because I leave Wednesday morning, and other than a few days while my husband will fly in and meet me over in Cali, this whole trip's going to be on my own.
Okay. Flying or driving?
Driving. I can't medically fly.
Wow.
So I have to drive a minimum of 18 states, depending on the route I end up taking.
Wow. Well, we'll be praying for you as you travel, because, it's long distance. Obviously, hopefully you get all the air pressure tires taken, air pressure in your tires taken care of.
We just had the entire car tuned completely back
Boom,
up.
perfect.
Oils changed, everything done, brand new tires, everything.
Awesome.
But technically speaking, Monday my car was in a ditch, so.
Oh, no.
Well, here's the thing. Icy S-curves, the river's on one side off a cliff. There's one shallow spot of the ditch on the side. Everything else falls way deep. Deer jumps right in front of the car with no space to stop on ice.
No.
I aimed for the shallow part of the ditch because it was the only place I could go where I wasn't going to end up in serious trouble.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So it could have been a lot worse.
Those deer, man, I tell you, they are wacky. That's what they are. But I hope that you have a wonderful trip and a safe trip. And anything else that you want to share, talk about, let the people know about?
I am getting more involved in a lot of the culture stuff right now, which also is that I'm working with a friend of mine who's one of the lower tiers for Comicsgate. I'm actually going to be doing a limited edition colorized version of his black and white comic.
Okay.
I'm doing all the colorization and a lot of the shading and inking for that.
Very cool.
So,
and we can find more about that out on your YouTube channel?
It's showing up there.
Okay.
You can find out stuff from him as he actually gets the fundraising and stuff up for the version I'm doing, which will be Alzamat Films. You can find him on Twitter at that. So
okay. Well, check out Rosetta both on Twitter and also on YouTube as well for more information about that, and also send your thoughts and prayers her way as she prepares to travel the whole country, it seems, or at least almost close to half the states.
Minimum of 18, so that's just over a third of the country actually, and that's going through most of Cali and Texas and stuff along the way. So,
wow.
Yeah, hopefully you'll be documenting a lot of that trip. So
I'm going to be trying to. Actually, one of my supporters actually sent me a 4K camera for the trip.
Nice. Well, that's
nice.
very cool.
So I actually have a big fancy new, actually not big, but little fancy, really high-end new camera for the trip, which includes a mode it's set so you can flip the whole screen system up and actually use it to record videos and stuff. So
okay. Very nice.
That'll help.
So you get some high quality vlogging from the road.
Hoping to.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, that's awesome. Well, of course, we'll be praying for you on your journey, and if you can pop in any streams that we have, just to let us know that you're okay and where everything is. Because when do you leave officially for that trip again?
About 6 a.m. Wednesday.
6 a.m. Wednesday. Okay, so
wow.
So I don't want you to be on our stream Tuesday night because I want you to be in bed getting sleep for that trip.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was told from Jessie too. That's why she had me come on air with her last Tuesdays, because I'm supposed to sleep Tuesday here.
Yeah.
So you're not the only one giving me that lecture.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, get that sleep if you're going to be driving, especially get that sleep so that way you can hit that open road early and not have to worry about falling asleep. Hopefully, you got a lot of audio books or music set aside for your journey.
Music.
Nice.
I've got whole drives full of different music for the trip.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, we wish you well on that and hope everything comes out safely, fruitfully, and also that you have a great time at all the cons and meeting people that you'll be doing across the country. Especially in Cali.
Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to spend some time with Jesse and Jeff, and that's going to be interesting because you know how wild they are.
Oh, yeah. Enjoy some of the sun, too.
I kind of look at it this way. I get out of the freaking winter weather for the next month of it existing. Because by the time I get back, winter's going to be ending.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
I never have winter, so I'm just chilling here. So.
Yeah, we're in winter right now, which I personally love, and I'm sadly seeing that the days are going to be warming up soon. And as my doctor told me down south, the day that you normally want to look to, and this is at least from the New Orleans area, for when allergies start, look to St. Patrick's Day, which is about March 17th. If you start taking your allergy meds a week before, then you should be fine for most of allergy season.
Well, there you are.
So,
see St. Patrick's still doing good.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. And so thank y'all both for sharing that with us and for joining me on this stream. Since someone did ask what I was planning to do. So a couple of things I've already started for my Lenten journey. So for those that don't know, I am Catholic. I'm very proud of that faith. I'm a Catholic school teacher too, so I teach the faith as well. And so when I went to the monastery a couple weeks ago at this point, we did the Liturgy of the Hours with the monks. So we got up at 5:30 in the morning to pray matins and lauds, which was awesome. And so I decided just to continue that practice. And so I've been doing morning prayer, office of readings when I can. That one's usually a little harder to do because it's a little longer with those readings. But I've been doing morning, evening prayer every day. And also, I just started a couple of days ago the consecration to Jesus, which my feast day, because it's based on Marian feast days, will be the Annunciation on March 25th. So I'll be doing that through the season of Lent. And then my big thing that I'm going to add, so I'm already doing a lot as it is, but since it's pre-Lent, the one thing I'll add to Lent when I start will be I'll try to make it so that I pray the Rosary every day. Because it's something that I sometimes do. I know I do it at Mass a lot because I go to the Latin Mass where there's quiet time where you can do those extra prayers. But I want to get back to that practice. I want to get back to praying the Rosary daily. And so I'm going to add that onto the practice. Because remember, for those that aren't aware, for those that are Catholic, that are fallen away Catholic, that might not have any faith at all, Lent is not just about, the giving up of things, though, of course, that can be beneficial depending on where we are in our state of life. But sometimes just doing that extra bit of things can help because it's a spiritual journey. It's as Pope Benedict XVI put it in a writing, he said, it's spiritual combat. It's spiritual warfare, and it's preparation for Easter. And what better way to prepare to combat Satan and to combat all the evils of the world than the Rosary and other prayers like that. So that's a little bit for what I came to. And before we sign off, just one more time, anything else that Teresa, anything else that you want to add or plug?
No, just speaking of Mass, I'm going to be heading there after this. After this stream. Your father just told me go to Mass. I was like, I do. I know a good girl. I would appreciate if people might check out some of my stuff. Mm-hmm. I'd love to see you there. I'm going to try to again do more live streams and more of that. Great. But I think I've said it all. Cool. This is great. Good times.
Great. Awesome. It's been great talking with you. And Rosetta, anything else that you might want to add or plug before we go?
Just support the indie artists who are fighting against this stupid politically correct culture.
Yeah.
Get out there, get involved with whether it's Comicsgate, whether it's the people making stuff in fandom to appreciate and all this stuff. Get out there and help them because we have to take this culture back for the future generation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I say a big way to do that too is to stop supporting places, people, and
Duck Fisney.
Yeah, absolutely.
And remember, YouTube sucks.
Yeah. They do. Absolutely right. Disney sucks. They really suck.
They suck.
But anyway,
ever since I got you to start singing those last summer, it's great to try to throw it in every so often.
It's always fun to do. But that's gonna be it for us today. I'll stay on with them for a couple of minutes before I'm getting so hungry. But I just wanted to thank everyone for joining the stream. Thank you so much for being active in the chat. Hopefully I got to any comments or questions that y'all had about these topics or anything that y'all wanted to talk about as well. Also, a special shout out to Stephanie B. She was the lone Valkyrie in the chat today. So thank you so much for modding and for posting links and just for doing all the things that you do. You are amazing. And also, of course, thoughts and prayers to Tina as she is currently on the boat. She is currently on her cruise. So hoping that she has a wonderful time on that cruise. And since we have Rosetta on today, prayers your way as well for a safe journey as you are about to embark upon a crazy one. And of course, prayers for Teresa for your continued ministry and for your continued success as well. So thank you all for being here. I love you all so very much. You're all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless. And now to give a shout out to my February Patreon and Subscribe Star members: Animation Commentator Brian P., Dion, David Brobrizik, Please let me know if I need to repronounce that name. DivX, Elizabeth M, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Weird Dog Clan, Harold Francis, The Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jeffrey Toon, Jeffrey Lebowski, JJ Jonathan Jerembeck, Kenneth Cameo, Lady T, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, Orange Hat Reviews, Outpost Dyer, Perpetual Punster, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, The DJD Show, and Tina B. And over on Subscribestar, Robert Revo, Larry, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, G2 Cool 99, Darkstar 57, Alice McCarthy, US 888-209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Hild Francis, J. Rod the Beer Guru, Nebanon G. Adams, and ZK Man. Then a shout out to Riff Racer Request and Sir Lance Elato and Mike Jackson. You rock. Thank you very much for being my Patreon Subscribestar members for the month of February. And if anyone else decides to join, at the next couple of days or so, I will add you into this list as well. You guys freaking rock. Have a wonderful one. And as always, God bless.